BeatStars.com. 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 BeatStars.com.
That boy's music is fuego. 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 bumping. Got it bumping.
BeatStars.com. 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 BeatStars.com.
I gotta find a way to gradually fade out of the music and transition back into live video. What's going down, everyone? Shout out to everyone in the chat, all the Ed Talenti fans. He is here. He's in the back room. I gotta make a couple announcements. Short announcements. I've said it before. I'll say it again. Join the new BeatStars Discord to chat with other members of the community. I mean, it's basically what you're doing in the chat. The link is in the chat. That's the invitation to join. What else can I say? Join. Collaboration is key. Community is key. I'm sure many of you would agree, but that's certainly been the case for me. Another announcement is that there is a new BeatStars song contest, and you can win over $3,000 in prizes. All you have to do is record and submit your best song for a chance to win. The link is in the chat. It's just songcontest.beatstars.com. See, that one's easy to remember. Normally, I just, there are these long addresses that I just can't even begin to articulate verbally. And that's where Marcus comes in. Shout out to Marcus either way. He's in the chat, making my job a lot easier. Cool. So I'm not gonna make you wait any longer for today's special guest. Ed Talenti, what's going down?
What's up?
How you doing,
How's
man?
everybody doing? How are you doing, man? I'm doing good.
Yeah, I'm doing well as well. This is the first time
This is
we've
the
ever
first time we
spoken.
actually, yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay, we're on the same page then,
Yeah.
thinking the same thoughts, saying the same things. There's a lot of speculation in the chat about your ethnic background. Are you Italian?
Ooh, I am born and raised in Italy, yes. Not just Italian, but actually Italian, like born and raised.
Okay, so
Yeah.
maybe maybe Bufo's comment about tortellini is real.
Oh, I didn't see it.
Just
Maybe it
if
is.
you have a recipe to share, he was interested.
Oh, I mean, we can add my grandma to the chat, I guess.
Okay, yeah,
She can help us
call her
out.
up, and then in the meantime, what does this mean? Cutest Italian? All right, the chat is a
What's
little
ICO?
flirtatious today.
All right, I'll take it.
Yeah, I mean, it's better than some of the messages we get in the chat sometimes. A whole
There
lot
you
of
go. I'll take the.
I won't say what usually happens. Let's see if it happens today. Every now and then this one thing happens in the chat. I don't know why it is. I can't explain it, but it's this common reoccurrence. If it happens today, I will definitely announce it. If it doesn't, we're just gonna act like it doesn't exist. Okay, cool. Let's get into the. If you've been in my lives, you'll know what I'm talking about.
Yeah,
Um,
I'm ready for it. I'm ready for anything.
yeah. Well, maybe you're not ready for this. Anyway,
Hey.
let's start at the beginning because I don't have too much background information on you. Obviously, I'm aware of your YouTube presence. You've been active in the producer community for a really long time. How long have you been making beats?
Making beats has been like maybe 5 years, maybe a little bit longer, like 5.5. But I've been doing music since always, since I was like 12, and full time since I was 18, 19, right after school. First as a drummer and then eventually as a producer. So this whole social media thing is kind of just like the last little chapter of everything that I've done, and that's only been going on for maybe the past like a couple of years. But before that, it was a whole bunch of other stuff, including production.
Okay, I did want to ask about your musical background then, because I've seen videos of you playing drums, bass, guitar, keys. What was your musical background? I mean, where did you learn all of these instruments?
So I started as a drummer. I started this whole thing with music when just my parents bought me a drum set. I was like, again, 12, and I got super into it. And then by the time I was like 14, between 14 and 16 is when I was like really into it. And I was like, this is my life. I want to be a drummer. I want to do nothing else with my time. And then I convinced my parents to send me to college. I went to college in LA. And then I graduated from there, just drums. I have an associate's degree in drums performance. And then after that, I got into drumming, but also all kinds of other aspects of music, and eventually production. So yeah, I would say mainly I started as a drummer and then learned some instruments like a little bit here and there. But yeah,
What made
that's
you
kind of
go
it.
from being a multi-instrumentalist to using a DAW?
That's a good question, actually. For me, it was just like another instrument. Like again, I was like only drummer for a long time, and then I picked up a little bit of guitar, a little bit of piano, and at some point, I just got interested in like hip hop beats, even like electronic music. And to me, the DAW was just another instrument, just like learning the guitar or something. And I added that to the collection and started like practicing, and I wanted to get decent at it. And then yeah, somehow it turned into a whole thing that's now my career. But yeah, that wasn't even the goal. Like it was just another instrument that I was picking up that I was just interested in at first.
So that was unexpected then, the fact that you're now a career producer, even though your degree was in drumming. So things change over the course of
Yeah,
one's life.
yeah, it was
Let me
very
ask you,
unplanned.
okay, because I can relate, but also my degree had nothing to do with music. But let me ask you, because you seem open-minded about music production in general. There
Mhm.
does seem to be these two competing schools of thought, where the one, and I've addressed this probably pretty exhaustively, this notion that people who play instruments and know instruments necessarily make better producers, and that beat makers who do not understand, you know, that level of musicality make worse producers. In your experience, is that a pretty significant difference between, like a producer who just knows their DAW and a producer who knows how to play guitar and piano and so forth?
I think I think it depends on what you start with. because I think that for someone that starts with an instrument and just wants to be an instrumentalist or anything like that and studies to be an instrumentalist, I actually think that it tends to make worse music in terms of beats specifically, not music in general, just when it comes to like hip hop beats, because you just come from such a different approach if you like played in bands and stuff, that it's like it takes a while to like really understand the sound and the culture, even, and like just everything, the aesthetic of it. So I actually think that it's kind of a disadvantage. But if you start as a producer and then you expand with like whatever it is, music theory, instruments, just knowledge of music, like more just a wider knowledge of music, then I do think that it does help. And
Mm.
yeah, it just helps on so many different aspects.
That's interesting. I've definitely seen. I guess I shouldn't. I'm not going to say names because I don't know their stories exactly, but I've definitely seen producers who started off as sample-based producers. I think they started off as sample-based producers, and then they started slowly learning how to play multiple
Right.
instruments, and suddenly they're getting Drake placements, and that maybe gave away who I was talking about. But um, I guess I don't know exactly. I think it's just kind of based on opinion and experience, but I agree with you actually. I have worked with a lot of really talented instrument players who get in the studio and they don't understand the importance of uh simplicity, because it's difficult when you have this really complex musical background. You just want to kind of just let all of that complexity loose on a track, and that doesn't make for a great beat, that doesn't make for a great pop song, that doesn't make for a great rap instrumental.
100%. Yeah, I think it's especially people that come from like jazz or like maybe some like metal or anything like that are really used to playing a bunch of notes, a bunch of complicated stuff, because that's what's exciting about that kind of music. Then when you get into like pop production, including hip hop, but like anything that has to do with like songs, it's just a whole different mentality and a whole different game, understanding how to put sounds together. It's just a whole different
Yeah.
thing.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
hard because you have to take all of that complexity and condense it into this really amazing but simple enough section that is so amazing that it can be repeated over and over again and not get old and actually get better the more time a person listens. That's
Right.
that's really hard. I mean, it's hard. I think both,
it
creating a symphony is really difficult. Creating a hit record is also really difficult. So I think that
yeah.
those two, that argument just needs to go away, if I'm being totally honest.
They're just different skill sets. They're kind of like different
Yeah.
skill. That's just kind of like different things. Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, so how long, we know you've been making beats for 5 years. How long have you been selling beats and making a living as a music producer 100%?
Right. So I started through Instagram. That's where I started posting my beats at first. And like I said, I had no intention of like even turning it into a job at all. But that's when I started getting a little bit of a fan base and a little bit of traction. And a lot of them were rappers. This was like mid 2018. Yeah, mid 2018. And over the second half of 2018 is when really it became a job. Just out of nowhere, I started getting DMs of people, where can I buy your beats? I like this beat. How can I get it? And I didn't even know anything. And that's the phase where I discovered BeatStars, where I discovered what a lease is and what an exclusive is and how some of the stuff works. And I started just getting the first ideas of how everything works. And I started selling beats. And because of what I was doing on Instagram, it kind of sort of just happened because I already had people waiting for them. So as soon as I launched the store, it was kind of like it was already kind of working. And I made a full living pretty much immediately. I was living in Italy at the time, so a full living is not that much money because the cost of living is pretty cheap. But I was able to do a full time thing, and I was still teaching drums on the side, but I didn't need to. I was already able to make a living. And then throughout 2019 and 2020 is when I really started focusing on YouTube and this other side of things as well, and that just grew like that. So full time since like late 2018, late 2018.
I hate to ask, but I'm going to ask anyway, so I guess I don't hate it that much. What was a full-time living for you initially when you first started? Just to give a perspective to people.
It was like between 1 and 2,000, depending on. But that was enough for me to live. If I made 1,300, I was able to pay the bills.
But how are you doing that consistently? Granted, you're saying people were reaching out to you on Instagram. That was really it? There were that many people contacting you regularly on Instagram, and you just posted regularly? I mean, what kinds of posts were they? How did you conduct those conversations so that you were maximizing your sales just through those interactions? I have a lot of questions.
No, I get it. So basically, at that time, the whole thing started on Instagram for me and like my first like little fan base, because I decided to go outside to perform my beats instead of in the studio, like sort of like everybody else was doing. And I wasn't the first one to go outside, but I was the first one to make it my thing, and I became the guy that makes beats outside. And I was actually getting really good engagement on Instagram. I was actually getting more views back then than I am now on Instagram. Um, Also,
Oh,
maybe
yeah.
the algorithm has something to do with that.
Yep.
But yeah.
Oh, yeah.
But either way, it got to a point during those 6 months, like 9 months, where every time I would post one of those clips of me just performing my little beat on my drum pad, I would get, immediately, like the first 24 hours, I would get between 10 and 20 DMs of people that wanted to lease it or sometimes even buy an exclusive. Not all of those purchases would go through, but still, it would be pretty. And I was only posting maybe like twice a week, like 2 or 3 beats a week, but still, it adds up. And it was completely through Instagram and then BeatStars. Like I would redirect people to my store on BeatStars, but the initial engagement was basically only on Instagram. That was the only platform I had really. I still knew nothing about email marketing or anything like that. I was just posting these little clips on Instagram and people were just hitting me up. That's even how I don't have that many placements. It's not even something that I'm pursuing that much at this point. But that's how I got the only few placements that I have. It's just through people, engineers hitting me in the DMs and just, I like that beat. Can we do something with it? So yeah, it was all Instagram, which is weird, especially now. I don't think now it would work, but 2018, it worked out.
Well, let me ask you this. You were posting, you said, um, videos of you actually making the beats. And because you're a multi-instrumentalist, that's an interesting thing for people to see. I've interviewed other producers who have said the same thing, where because they're making a video of them making the beat, it kind of pulls more rappers in because it feels like they're a part of the process. It's kind of like almost the feel of being in the studio with you, right? That you're seeing the
100%.
performance. Is that more helpful for you? I mean, if you were posting just a picture of like, J. Cole's face with the beat playing in the background, and then you just said, buy this beat now, you probably wouldn't be getting as many sales, right?
Absolutely not. I 100%. I am convinced that the reason why it was working is because people started developing a relationship with me specifically, and they just enjoyed me as a person. And honestly, if I have to be honest, back in 2018, my beats weren't that good. There were people making way better beats than me. I hadn't even been making beats for that long, so I was really not. They were really not that great. But because of the personal fan base and interaction that I built with sort of like a community, and a lot of them were rappers at the time, um, then yeah, they just sort of felt like they were actually directly working with me. Um, yeah, so that's definitely a big one, a big important part of it.
And I want to talk more about how, other producers can do the same thing or apply those same elements,
Yeah,
because it depends on your personality, right? I mean, you didn't start out feeling all that comfortable. You said you didn't like your beats. I think that's all a matter of opinion and subjectivity, but it took some time to develop that.
yeah, and I think that I mean, at first I'm not a particularly like, extrovert person. I'm pretty shy and quiet. Um, And I think that really was the hardest part. The hardest part was putting my face in front of a camera and just putting my music out there and just opening up like that. And then the thing that really, it sounds so stupid, but it's not. I think it's actually very important and something to think about. The thing that really started everything and got people to even listen to those beats in the first place is the fact that I was doing something slightly different, but that people were able to identify me with and be like, he's the guy that makes beats outside. And every time you saw that on your feed, if you were following me, it would be like, oh, it's him. And you would at least click it and give it a chance and listen to it because you're scrolling through Instagram muted. So it's really a visual thing more than an audio thing. The audio thing comes after once you decide to listen to something. And so I think that played such a big role in that. Just the fact that I was outside and it just looked different than everybody else, and it kind of became my brand for a while. It's not anymore, but it became my brand for a while. And yeah,
Yeah, I remember seeing those videos because a lot of people were reposting them, and you
yeah,
had your it was a pad or a controller, or was it a little keyboard?
yeah. So sometimes it was a keyboard, sometimes a controller. Yeah, I would
Okay,
turn back and forth.
all
Yeah.
right. Okay, let's move on. That's interesting. So you made $1,000 your first month of selling beats online, and you
Oh,
made a
that video. Yeah,
video, and you hate that video apparently because that was one of
so
your early
much.
videos, right? Okay,
That was
so
my
I
first, well, not first video, but kind of like when I started posting on YouTube more consistently. That was the first one.
okay, so since you hate that video, give me a summary of how of what you spoke about in that video because it was a tutorial video and you were giving advice to producers. So put yourself back in that position. What was some of the advice that you were giving producers after experiencing that initial month of sales?
Yeah. Um, I don't remember exactly the video, but I remember some of the points. It was definitely defining your brand, which is kind of what I just talked about, and being able to differentiate yourself from others, not just in terms of music, but in terms of something else. Having a personality or having an element to what you do that can be easily identified and easily shared. Um, and like I said, for me, it's the guy that makes beats outside, and you can tell that to a stranger, and even if they don't remember my name, but they even scrolled past one of my videos, they could quickly be like, yeah, that guy. So I think that that's very important and kind of like builds an image around you that people grow and like start trusting and just start feeling like they know you personally, even though they really kind of don't at that point. So I think that it was a very important thing that I learned in that phase. And then I would say the other one was to not be a salesman, especially when it comes to content, and to really, really focus on just building a good community and just sort of presenting your stuff in the best way possible, and then just letting people come to you rather than you chasing people, which is not always, it doesn't always apply. But for my situation back then, it really did. And I think it made a big difference because I never asked anybody, like, I'm selling a beat, you want a beat? That's never happened, or almost never. It was always the other way around. And I think that makes a big difference because you're in a different position then.
You know what I think is a super gem that a lot of producers don't even think about, is that when you post a video of you making a beat, you're simultaneously appealing to rappers who might want to buy the beat and producers because producers love consuming producer content. And so
Yeah,
that piece of content is, I would say, twice as powerful as, say, posting just the beat as a sales pitch, because that's very rapper specific. Whereas the
right.
tutorial video is general and you hit a lot of different, you might even hit an audience of people who don't want to buy the beat and who don't make beats themselves, but just enjoy seeing the process of music creation. So has that been your experience with those videos? Have they been, I guess, the most engaging for you?
Back then, it was definitely mostly rappers, and I think that it was because of just the way the Instagram algorithm worked, and I was just the tags were still important, and I was really focusing on rappers mostly more than producers, especially as it started becoming sort of my job. I was like, well, really, who am I trying to attract with these beats? Like, really, the people that I need to like, interest are rappers because they were my customers at the time. And then eventually, when I shifted over to YouTube, that completely changed because all of my followers on YouTube are producers, or well, not all of them, but big chunk of them, because of the type of content that I make. It's mostly producers. But I think that what you said is actually really interesting, especially it's something that I think about now a lot on YouTube in general. And it's being able to not just provide value, but provide value through entertainment and finding ways to make value and provide value in an entertaining way. And so really what you said about making a beat videos, those are really fun to watch because ultimately you're experiencing the creative process. And it's not even so much about the final result or it's about or not about how you set the EQ. Nobody really cares. What the important part of it is the fun, the joy, and just the entertainment of creating music. And I do think that me showcasing that even in the early days on Instagram and stuff, I think that that played a big part in people really kind of connecting with what I was doing.
What is your video making setup? Are you using a phone or are you using a camera?
Oh, I mean, at this point, I've got a couple of cameras. I got lights. At this point, I kind of stepped it up a little bit. But back then, it was my phone with my with my grandma. Since we brought her up earlier, she was kind of like my cameraman, or more like my. I would set her there and just frame it up, frame
Camera
up a
grandma,
shot.
yeah.
Yeah, camera grandma. So it was very homemade. It was very like chill. But yeah, then over time, especially for YouTube and stuff, I sort of upgraded to cameras and more video stuff and learned how to edit and stuff. Those weren't even really edited. It was just like it was very raw. Yeah, I stopped making those like a year and a half ago at this point, or even more. But they really worked at the beginning. They were definitely a big part.
So once you became serious about pursuing music as a career, how did you change your schedule and structure your life around these music goals?
So like I said at the beginning, I've been doing music full time since I never had another job. Just different ways of making music. So for example, when I was a drummer, I was just always out late at night. So my schedule was all kind of messed up because I was always playing shows and doing stuff like that. And one of the main reasons, especially as I shifted to, YouTube and content creation and stuff like that, was freedom. Just being free to set my own schedule, being free to work on my own, to just kind of decide what I wanted to do. And so my schedule changed in terms of like I started running it more like a business and more like a job. So for example, right now I work like I had a 9 to 5. I just get into work and I try not to work on weekends. I try to keep a schedule that's pretty, average. But I also have the freedom to change it if I want to. But it's really up to me. I just set a schedule because otherwise, if it's completely open, I'm going to end up not doing anything, just because of the way my brain works. So yeah, my schedule and just my approach kind of started shaping around content creation and just, yeah, that's it.
Okay, so I'm curious then because, well, I have a lot of questions now, but I'm curious about your revenue model then. Obviously, beats are a part of, oh, Jesus, the chat. Obviously, beats are a big part of your revenue model. I'm supposed to take your advice. I work too late at night. So it always, I interview so many producers and I ask them this question, about their schedules, and some of them are waking up, 8 in the morning and 7 in the morning and this and that. So it's stuff that maybe I need to hear, but beats are a part of your revenue model, but it also seems like the core of what you're doing is content creation. Correct me if I'm wrong.
At this point, yeah, definitely. So that first year and a half was 80%, 90% beat selling, and the rest was, a little bit from like the starting of YouTube and all this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
At this point, end of 2021, it's my business. I'm a YouTuber. I run a YouTube channel about music production and everything connected with that. Of course, beat sales are still, a part. But really the bulk of everything is, for example, sample packs are one of the biggest sources of income because of my audience of producers. And then of course, brand deals are another big one, and everything connected to content creation. Yeah.
Yeah, I was going to ask you about that. Is YouTube revenue a bigger part than beat sales, or would you say they're equal?
Definitely. No, at this point, it's definitely way more YouTube, not just YouTube, but YouTube connected things, YouTube related things. It's definitely more than beats. Even though there was a phase where I was still growing my YouTube, but I was really also pushing the beats a lot more than I am now. And it grew to, a substantial income beyond that, initial $1,000 that we talked about. But at this point, it's definitely way more on the content creation YouTube side for sure.
Oh God. Okay. So where do you upload your beats other than BeatStars? I searched around a lot. I mean, your YouTube page is producer content. Even your SoundCloud is pretty much producer content. Do
Yeah.
your beats just live on BeatStars and that's it?
They live on BeatStars, and what I started doing recently, because a lot of people hit me up about buying the beats that I make on YouTube, because it's mostly producers, but there's also rappers that follow or just
Yeah.
artists in general. And I shifted to more of like my goal is to work with artists in a more active way, like more like being a part of the process with them. And so I end up selling more exclusive than I used to, and I end up working like one-on-one with a bunch more artists than I used to in the past. But the beats that are on BeatStars, they're still there, and they still, generate revenue, and they just kind of, it's kind of like passive income at this point. But yeah.
Shout out to Dan for donating. I don't know where the donations go. Hopefully, to Mike Trampy, but it's a more of a preference question. I've had producers that have, preferred one email platform or the other. One, I guess I should ask: do you use email marketing as part of your
Yeah.
fan building, community building?
Yeah.
And do you use the BeatStars integrations for that?
Yes. Well, recently I switched to ConvertKit, which I don't think that it's integrated yet. I used to use Mailchimp up until actually just a few months ago.
Okay.
Yeah.
So why did you choose Mailchimp over Aweber when you had the choice?
I made my Mailchimp account and started using it before I even know what Aweber was. I feel like Aweber kind of came up a little bit later, and I already had everything on Mailchimp. And then when I made the transition, I decided to go over to ConvertKit. But I was using Mailchimp for the majority of the time. Yeah,
Okay.
for no
And
particular reason. It just happened.
and I give the same reason. So Dan, if you're curious, check out my YouTube, because I did have a representative from Aweber on, and honestly, they, the same kinds of things you can do with one, you can do with another. I think there are just some pricing differences and some, specific workflow differences as well between the two. But yeah, I think, figuring out which platform does work best for you is key. And there are free accounts available for all of them. So try them out, try the free accounts, and you can always import and export your email data from one platform to another. That's the beautiful thing about that. We have a bunch of questions coming. I like how interactive this is. I have this is another kind of subjective question. What price range would you recommend for exclusive and non-exclusive beat licenses?
Ooh. Okay, so as far as non-exclusive, I would stick to what everybody else is doing. I wouldn't go too far out in either direction, because I feel like if you go too far low, then you just think about any other sort of market. Like you wouldn't want to just sell your product completely outside of the range of everybody else. You can push it a little bit, in one direction or another, but really you got to kind of stay in the range as everybody else.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I mean, there are
that's my
people that
opinion.
would say things like, well, my beats are Chanel and everybody else's beats are Target, and therefore they're going to
Yeah,
charge Chanel prices. I don't know if that I've not applied that mentality to my prices though, and it doesn't sound like
I
you have
just, I
either.
just, I haven't, because my thought process is you're on a platform, for example, like BeatStars, and you are literally on the same platform as like multi-platinum producers. So, I mean, are you really gonna charge like more than them? It doesn't make any sense to me. So really, to me, it makes sense to sort of stay in that range and just, you know, yeah, that's how I feel about it.
I've seen some really interesting pricing models. I've seen some producers that only have one. I forget who it was. I was trying to interview him and I couldn't make it happen. It was this producer that only sold one kind of lease, and it was 100, and that was the only one you could get. And it was
Okay.
working for him. I've known other producers who are, they sell $1 beats, and I guess both of those options seem kind of extreme to me, but maybe it's working. And then you got to take into account cost of living and where people are and how serious they are, because they may not be that serious, you know what I mean? And so they might just be testing things out. So I think what ends up happening, and tell me if you've seen this, Ed, a lot of people will see a producer doing something and they assume that it's working, but that producer may not actually be making a living.
100%. And I see this on that, but I see it on YouTube. I see it on everything. Um, Even me, when I make a video, I'm trying stuff out. I'm trying my best to do the next thing that's going to work. I don't necessarily know that it's going to work. So when you go and just copy what somebody else did, but just on that surface level without really understanding the full thought process behind it and the path that they're on, then it just like it's like, you know, it doesn't really make any sense, in my opinion. So yeah, I totally agree. You don't know what that person is doing and why. Maybe they're just trying it out. They don't even know if it's going to work or not yet. So maybe it's not worth copying it. Oh, I lost you.
Oh, I muted myself. Oh my gosh. Can
Okay.
you recommend any books or PDFs or guides or anything online, any resources that have helped you with understanding business and marketing?
Ooh, to be honest, I haven't read many books about music business. I read a lot of music books, but specifically like music books, like theory books and music history books and stuff like that. But as far as music business, everything that I've learned so far has been through YouTube, has been through talking to other people that have gone through things and hearing stories and hearing experiences. So it's been very community based learning rather than a certain book. I'm sure that there's incredible books out there, but I haven't really read that many about music business, to be honest.
So a lot of it is just self-taught.
Self-taught, yeah, or just talking to people, yeah,
Got
community.
it. Well, hey, become like me and just interview producers and ask them questions, and that's a great way to learn. No, I mean, it seriously is. That, like, I learned the most from my initial interviews with BeatStars members, because I wasn't even selling beats at that point. And
Right.
so speaking of BeatStars, there is a lot of speculation about catalog. I'm one of those people that's probably like in the top 10% of catalog size. And I don't think that's necessarily the right way for everybody, or even for me. You currently have, when I checked, exactly 100 beats on BeatStars. Has that been the
Yeah.
magic number for you, or what works in terms of catalog size for you, and why is catalog size important?
Yes, the 100 beats is actually a number that I always try to keep sort of there as much as I can. But I don't, to be honest, I haven't really, it wasn't like a planned strategy. It was just kind of like, this feels like a good number. So I'm going to try to just round it and just keep it as close as possible to that. But yeah, I think that really it depends on who your audience is and how you reach the people that you reach. Because, if you have a bigger audience, for example, of people that follow you consistently, then it makes sense to just have a huge catalog and just keep posting and posting and posting and posting. And because people are following you, so every week they just come back. But if it's just for example, for me, it's a catalog that's sort of there, and it's going through the different algorithms and going through the different systems. Really, I don't need to have a gigantic catalog. The beats are there and they work, and they do what they need to do. But yeah, so I think it really depends on how the people that follow you consume your stuff, and what makes more sense for your community, I guess.
Got it. Do you ever run bulk deals?
Yes. I tried everything through time. I did bulk deals, I did packs, I did like specific packs with like, putting the artwork together and everything. I even tried funnels at some point that redirected eventually to BeatStars. So yeah, I tried all kinds of different things. Yeah.
What has anything stood out for you as being particularly effective?
Yeah, I would say that the funnels, which I wasn't really expecting, but once I learned marketing funnels, they really worked for a while. I actually don't know why I slowed down on those because I got to a point where the ads were working and everything was working, and it was basically just free money coming in. But I don't know why I kind of slowed down on that. I've just been really focused on the content created. That takes up so much time that it just takes up
Yeah.
all my brain energy. But yeah, that was working actually really nice.
How were you
And
structuring
then
that funnel?
sending,
Was it like a free offer and then a pack of beats?
yeah, I had free offer, and then I had chain of emails that kind of talked about my story and kind of made a connection with the people. And then eventually they would lead to the BeatStars, where I had different things I was trying out, but I had either a pack or I had individual beats, depending on the genre and depending. I tried one thing. I would collect people's responses based on genre and like favorite artists and stuff like that, and then they would go in a different sequence of emails that would ultimately take them to beats that would make sense for them. Um, so yeah, ultimately that was the strategy, but it started with the free, and then yeah.
And you were using Mailchimp to uh I guess funnel people closer. How did you set that up where you were asking them what their favorite style of beat was in order for them to get redirected to the right kinds of beats that you were selling?
Oh, for that, because my numbers weren't that big in terms of like managing everything, I actually had structured like a Google form where they could like fill out the form in one of the emails that they were redirecting to the form, and then I would actually have a person going through it and sort of collecting the answers and exporting the emails and putting them in the right box.
Got it.
So yeah, that's how I did it. Kept it very simple.
Okay, cool. Just a quick question. Do you have a home studio now? I remember seeing a video where you spoke about not being able to access your studio because of COVID, and then
Right.
you were back.
So I moved into a whole bunch of different places at studios in the past like 2 years. So I had my original one, and then COVID, I couldn't go anymore. So I built like a home studio, and then in December of 2020, I built a whole new studio. Like it was like awesome, like it was great space. And then in May of 2021, I moved to Amsterdam. Now I'm in Amsterdam. So this is actually a spare bedroom in my apartment right now. So I'm back in the bedroom, loving it. And I'm actually looking for a space right now that's actually another space. But I've been changing a bunch of different rooms. But right now I'm in a bedroom. So yeah.
Yeah, because I didn't realize how serious of a drummer you were when I saw that video. So now it makes sense because you can't just be drumming in your apartment.
Nope.
Even in
It
Amsterdam,
sucks.
that Dutch people don't tolerate that.
They're no, they're gonna hate me. I'm gonna get kicked out really quick.
Yeah,
So
you don't
yeah,
you
the
don't want
downgrading
Dutch
to
people
the
to hate you.
Yeah, no. Downgrading to the bedroom. That was the sucky part. That I can't really play instruments loud. Even I used to produce on like speakers, just free and crank it up. Now I mostly have to produce on headphones. That's why in my newest videos I'm always wearing headphones. In the past I never was because I was just using the speakers. So it definitely changed my workflow quite a bit to go back to the bedroom. But I've also been liking the aspects of being in the house. There's pros and cons, I guess.
What headphones do you recommend for making beats?
Ooh, I just got sent these that are actually super cool. I never owned a pair of wireless headphones. These are III headphones. AIAII. Never heard of them before. They're honestly incredible. They sound super good. Um, these I really like. And then I really like these Bear Dynamics DT900 Pro X.
Yeah,
Not good with model numbers.
those
But
are like the Ferrari of headphones, of monitor headphones.
yeah, these are pretty good. I like these a lot. And I have a whole bunch of pair of headphones, but I think these are my two favorites at the moment. Especially these because I get to use them. I get to walk around. I can go in there and play the guitar, and in the meantime, it's like I love it. I'm all wireless.
So you released a video last year titled "How to Sell Beats Online." I think everyone should watch it. I did want to speak on some of the points you made. It was like a 5-point beat selling program. And your first point is that you shouldn't focus on money. You should focus on visibility. What does
Ooh,
that
yeah.
mean? What's the difference?
Um, to me, the strategy that it's sort of what it kind of happened by itself with the whole Instagram thing that we talked about earlier. But then as time went on, I started really thinking about it and being proactive about that. And I realized that one of the reasons why I think I was being successful at selling beats, um, it was because I wasn't trying to sell beats. I wasn't focused. I wasn't speaking to people as a salesman. I wasn't, just all focused on the marketing and the deals. My only goal for even now, it's always been the same goal is how can I get this piece of content, whether it's a beat, whether it's a video, whether it's a video of me playing a beat, whatever it is, how can I get this piece of content in front of as many people as possible? And then because of large numbers of people, the percentages of people that will turn into customers are higher. Just it's just a numbers game. It's just statistics. So the more people, the more eyes I get on a piece of content, the higher the chances that one of those people, 10 of those people, 100 of those people, like it's just the bigger the number is, the more potential customers you have. Just it's just numbers. So I've really been always focusing on strategies and creative ways to put this in front of as many people as possible.
I was gonna try to
Oh, Italian.
translate this message. I do not speak Italian, but I can sometimes figure it out.
Really
Uh,
nice.
Bufo is a multilingual
Oh,
producer,
there you go. He's
apparently.
asking. Yeah, apparently.
I think he's
He's
asking about
asking.
getting comfortable in front of a camera.
Yes, there you go.
Okay, cool.
He said he's scared of making a video and showing his face. Well, you shouldn't be. I mean, I was scared too. I still am sometimes, but you just got to do it. It's so important, man. It's so important for doing this job.
I think so because I feel like, all right, the majority of like the YouTube producer personalities are more in like the Ed Talenti, not quite like the Simon Servita level of energy.
Sure.
He's kind of a special guy.
Yeah.
But they're kind of and like me, I'm very as a person, I'm high energy. You would never know it. You would never unless you're like in the gym with me. You would never know I'm high energy. Um, but in front of a camera, I'm just really kind of deadpan and straightforward. There's my videos. I'm still making videos and I'm still building communities. So don't let your perception of yourself stop you because your perception of yourself, it might just be completely wrong. It's the same reason, like Ed, you were saying you thought your beats were trash at first, but they were selling and you were making a living selling them. Clearly, you didn't know what the hell you were talking about because if they were trash, they wouldn't have sold. And this is what I mean. So,
That
I don't
makes
know.
sense.
Here's another quick question. Are you changing direction based on your recent music with lyrics?
Ed has been doing music with lyrics. Change direction. Have I been making music with lyrics? I'm confused by this question.
I haven't
I
seen it.
mean,
So
I
I don't.
I mumble things during the videos just because it comes up, but I haven't actually. People have been asking me to make a song where I sing or try to sing even or try to rap or anything like that for the longest time. But I just when I try to write lyrics, no matter what I write, it just sounds so dumb to me. It just sounds like I don't know what I'm doing, and it's really the lyrics that stop me. It's not so much like the using my voice, the lyrics, man. I just feel like I sound so stupid. I just feel like nothing makes sense and sounds cool. It's so hard to write lyrics
Yeah,
to me.
I have nothing else to add. So the second point of your video had to do with the customer avatar technique, and Mike Trampy showed me this. In a nutshell, what is a customer avatar and how did it help you sell beats?
It really started helping when I started identifying who am I talking to? Who am I making this content for? What does that person look like? How old are they? How much money do they have? What job do they have? Do they go to school? Do they live with their parents? Like really starting to think of the person that consumes my content. And obviously, that's not going to be everybody. But that started really shaping everything, the language that I use in my emails or the language that I use in my posts. Because it's really also connected to the type of beats that you're making. Like if you're making, I think in that video actually, it said if you're making little pump type beats, that was a couple of years ago, you're going to talk to people and you're going to relate to people, to a customer base that's very different than somebody that makes beats for J. Cole. It's just a different type of person that you're talking to. And I think that identifying that and realizing who you're talking to, it's very important, because it's just important in general in everything. It's like going to a job interview. If you don't know what job you're applying for and who you're talking to, chances are you're going to say something stupid. So it's important to understand who you're talking to. It's really that simple. But I think it's important to think about that.
See how they try us, and then Twitch got you. I wish YouTube was that efficient. So
it's not.
Okay, we already talked about this because it was another point in your video. I think I just want to point it out. You said the most important skill a producer can have is speaking on camera, and I think we already discussed why. And you make really entertaining content, and you've already commented that your content has to be informative and entertaining. That fake Drake song you made was really fun to watch. How much content do you make a week? I mean, what kind of, I don't know if you impose a quota onto yourself, but what is your weekly goal, and how do you make sure that content gets done?
I aim to, for YouTube specifically, I aim to one video a week. I used to do more, but it kind of stopped making sense. And I realized that if I can invest all of my time in that video, and if it takes a week and a half because it's a particularly complicated video to make, fine. But really, then I can really invest in that video and put it out there, because it's going to be out there forever. And I can really focus, especially on the editing part. That's the part where I spend the most time, for like engagement, audience retention, entertainment, and just making sure that video is going to perform well. And I try to never post a video that is just, oh, here's another video. This one's okay. I try to really put everything that I have into every single video, even if I do less videos, and that's been paying off. And I think that ultimately I'm happier doing it this way.
And I think
so one video a week, to answer your question.
Do you do all that yourself? Shooting, editing, everything?
Yeah, I just recently got a guy that does the subtitles, because I started putting subtitles on my YouTube videos, and it was just so time consuming, and I hired a person to do that. But aside from that, shooting, editing, it's still all me. I am looking into hiring an editor. I've been talking to a few people, this guy included, that's been helping with the subtitles, and I'm kind of like training him and stuff like that. But for now, it's just me, and it takes forever, especially to edit.
Here's a good question. How far out are your videos scheduled?
Okay. So because now I have sponsor lined up and deadlines, which I didn't have a while ago, they're a bit planned out, or some of them are. Like, for example, I know that I have to do one video a month for this company. I know that I have to do, I have this big video plan for this other company 3 months from now. So that one's got a deadline, and it's kind of working in the background. But then as far as like other videos that are not sponsored, or even that are sponsored, but they're more like they just kind of happen, it's actually sort of week by week, maybe a couple of weeks in advance, but that's really kind of it. Yeah, I kind of just week after week.
That's not a question that I pinned. I just thought it was a cool comment.
I love it. Hey.
How do you balance making beats with making content, or do you?
Well, to be honest with you, because the YouTube thing has been going really well in terms of just career and income and everything, I do realize that I invest more time into that. But one thing that I always try to do is to maximize what I do. So everything that I make in a YouTube video ends up on my Patreon, sold as stems and sold as melodies and sold as things like that. And if it doesn't, it's going to end up being in a pack in the future, one way or another. One sound that I made in a video, one melody that I made in a video is going to, everything gets repurposed for something. And the beat itself, if it's a beat, because not every time, like for example, you mentioned the Drake video, I didn't really, I mean, I made beats for that, but I didn't, it wasn't really focused on the beat. So those beats I didn't even finish. They were just made for that particular video. But when I do make a video where I make a beat and I finish it and I go through the whole process and everything, then I have that beat finished. So that's kind of how I balance it. But there are plenty of beats that are unfortunately just 32 bar loops. And that's it. Just a chorus and a verse, just
Sure.
because I made it for the video mostly. Um, yeah.
Do you plan
And
on
I, well,
more
one thing
collab?
that,
Sorry.
oh no, I was just saying connected to that. One thing that I've been enjoying about this content creation thing is that I feel like it allowed me to make more music sort of for myself without really thinking about who's this for? Is anybody gonna buy it? Does it fit the brand? It just kind of allows me to create. And then if it's a beat that makes sense to sell, great. If it doesn't, that's also fine. But I have more freedom of expression in terms of just music in general, or at least I feel like.
So people in the chat are talking about the Ocean collab. Shout out to Ocean. Why haven't I
Ooh,
had him
shout
on
out to
here
Ocean.
yet? Um,
Yeah, he's
I'm gonna
awesome.
let me.
He
Yeah,
just
I'm
came out
gonna
here to
write that
Amsterdam
down.
like last week.
He just what?
He came out here to Amsterdam. That's where we did the collab.
How
He
far is
just
that
he
from?
just came
Because
here
he's in
for a
the
beer.
UK, right? How far is that?
Yeah, he's in London. He came with the train actually, and it took him like 3.5 hours, maybe four. So not that long. If
I'm
you were
so
to fly,
jealous
it
of
would take
Europe,
like
man.
30 minutes. Yeah.
I'm so because like I'm in the Midwest, and just to get to Chicago, it would take that amount of time. And he just traversed multiple Western European countries, and
Yeah.
there he is. And trust me, I've
Yeah.
been all over Western Europe. I've driven all over Western Europe. It's just I blink and I'm in Germany, and then I blink again and I'm in Belgium, and I blink again and I'm in the Netherlands, and it's so different from the
Yeah.
Americas.
Even
So
me
do you
when I go
plan
to
on
Italy from Amsterdam. Oh, sorry.
do you plan on doing more collaborations like that, like the Ocean video?
Oh, 100%. That's one of the things, one of the reasons why I moved to Amsterdam is to be able to be in a place that is not literally the middle of nowhere in Italy where nobody will ever come. But to be in a big city where there's opportunity to work with other people that I want to work with. So Ocean came out here, Chuki Beats came out here, and I'm about to go to London pretty soon to do a thing with Ocean. So it's just like, yeah, that's the cool part about being in a city is that I actually get the chance to work with people like that. So 100%.
Where is Chicky Beats from? I thought he was French.
Belgium, right? Yeah. I don't
Oh,
want to say something
Belgium.
stupid, but I'm pretty sure it's Belgium. Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, I already said something stupid because I called him French. Hey, what was the Tory Lanez placement story? I feel like
Oh,
there's not that much info about that.
there's not because people call it a placement, but it's not really. It's more like a snippet. But basically, what happened, and this is goes back to those Instagram days. This is literally it's one of the craziest stories I think of my entire career so far in terms of this production stuff. I was maybe 4 or 5 months into that whole posting the beats on Instagram phase that we talked about. And I get this DM from this guy that tells me, I'm Tory Lane's sound engineer. We're working on a new album. Send them some beats. Just out of nowhere. I had maybe like 1,500 followers. I was doing nothing. I don't even think I was making a living with it yet. I was like building towards that, but it wasn't really super solid yet. It was still in the building phase. And he told me, we're working on the new album. We're looking for producers. I like the videos that you put up. I like your beats. Send us beats. And I didn't know what anything meant. I was completely clueless about everything that had to do with that world. I literally just selected all of the beats that I had made, even like back to like my very first one. I was like terrible, and I made a zip file, sent it to him. Forgot all about it because like 3 years went by, and then it was summer of wait, was it early 2021 at some point, and this vlog comes out, Tory Lane's vlog, that at the end of it had my beat, and then it drops complete dead silence, and it's just my beat, my producer tag, just in the vlog, just the tag, and then he starts rapping on it, and I had no idea that this even existed. But I woke up one morning and people were tagging me, and it was like, "Congrats on the Tory Lanez placement." I was like, "What?" And so I reached out to that guy again, and I was like, "That's awesome. So what's going on?" And he told me that the song was in the works. They didn't have a good hook yet, so they didn't know what they were going to do with it. And then I don't know, probably nothing's going to happen. But that was really cool, and it just really showed me the power of the internet, even from being in the middle of nowhere in Italy. It just blew my mind.
So something could maybe still happen, but you're not counting on it.
Not a, it could, I guess. I
Yeah.
don't have any sort of input on that. But I am in touch with the guy, with the engineer. So sometimes I still send him beats, and you know, you never know. But
No, you don't.
yeah,
Engineers are a great resource. I mean,
yeah,
because they're always with the artist, and if you're an artist and you're recording with an engineer, and the engineer says, "Oh, let me play you some beats," you're already in the studio. That's the best place, and that's the best time. That's
yeah.
how I got my first placement ever,
Oh
is through
yeah,
an engineer. Yeah.
that's awesome.
So shout
Plus,
out
the
to the
artist is
engineer.
going to listen to the engineer's advice. Like they
Yeah.
trust their engineer. So if the engineer says this guy's got good beats, then they're going to listen. So
Yeah. Oh yeah.
definitely.
So unfortunately, we're running out of time. We're gonna have to do a part two, because I have more questions. But what are some projects that you're excited about, coming up in 2022?
I'm trying to think of the main things. Well, what I've been working on for my YouTube channel mainly is to be able to expand this community beyond what it is now. I want music production to become a mainstream category on YouTube specifically, just sort of like photo and video did. Maybe not as big as gaming, but it is very similar. It's a dude clicking behind a computer. So there's a lot of potential for that. And that's sort of been my vision, is to just get as many people as possible into this community and getting them into music production, people that don't even really care about it yet. The barrier of entry is super low. So that's kind of the general goal. And then as far as specific projects, I mean, I'm always working on a new sample pack. I haven't said this yet, but I'm just going to throw it out there. I'm working on my first course that's eventually going to be ready, and a couple other things like that. But yeah, that's really it. Just making bigger and better content and
So how
expanding
do
this whole
people stay in
community.
touch with you? How do people follow you, DM you, interact with you?
Ed Talenti on any platform. If you don't find me, I'm not on that platform, but Ed Talenti, it's everywhere. And then DMs are not a great way to connect with me because they're flooded, so I tend to not
Hmm.
respond, not on purpose. Email is still the best way to contact. Creator at edtalenti.com. There's not that many people in here, like it's not like thousands of people. So if you guys want to reach out, more than happy to chat with people and respond
Well,
to
this
stuff.
is being reposted. I'll just cut that part out. Um,
Well, even if you can even leave it in
okay.
there.
If you
My
say
email
so.
is public. It's not like it's a secret email, so
All
it's
right.
all good.
And if he doesn't answer your DM, just tweet about how, Hollywood he's gotten over time, ever
I'm
since he
a
hit
horrible person,
100,000 subscribers.
terrible human
Well,
being.
once again, I appreciate your time. Hopefully we can get a part two.
Anytime.
The people. Oh, anytime. You heard it first right here. That's a verbal commitment. Shout out
I'm
to
down.
everyone in the chat. You had a lot of fans in there. You had a lot of support. This will be archived on all BeatStars social media, and it will be reposted on my YouTube channel in 2 weeks as well. So if you came in late, don't worry. You can watch the whole thing over again on the BeatStars Twitch and on the BeatStars YouTube, and then later on my YouTube with the part about his email address completely edited out. So remember that. Cool. Once again, thank you, Ed. I really appreciate your time.
Thank you.
I will be back same time, same place next week on the Music Entrepreneur Club free music business mentorship sessions at 3 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on BeatStars. Peace, everyone.